Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first meeting of the Early Childhood Subcommittee. Thank you to my colleagues for joining nice and promptly. We do have one bill on our list for today, but before we get there, since this is our first meeting for this session, I just had a few organizational remarks before we get started. As a reminder, all of our subcommittee meetings this session will be held on Zoom and are being live streamed. Members, when we get to the point where we are voting, please be on camera so that we can see who is voting. I understand it's not always possible to have your camera on for the entire duration of the meeting, and that is okay. But when we get to voting, please have your camera on. And for stakeholders who are joining us in the Zoom room, you're doing exactly the right thing. We just ask that folks keep their cameras off and they stay muted unless they have been asked a question and are recognized by myself. So with that, we will go ahead and bring up our one and only bill for today, HB 78, Public Schools Anaphylactic Food Allergies Guidelines. This is a piece of legislation that I'm sponsoring. The subcommittee did pass this bill last year, passed through Ways and Means and the full committee. Basically, this is the bill that requires public school districts to adopt and implement a policy to take preventative actions to protect kids who have a life-threatening food allergy, and also to disclose the ingredients of foods being served in the school cafeteria. We do have some amendments on the bill, and I will let Alistair, our analyst, describe those for us, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the amendments are pretty simple. There are currently in place some state guidelines on anaphylaxis that are created by the State Department of Education in conjunction with the Maryland Department of Health, but they have not been updated since 2009, and they are currently in the process of being updated. So the amendment would say that the bill as a whole requires that each county board develop specific guidance for students who suffer from allergies and from major food allergies. The amendment would say that the State Department of Ed and the Department of Health have to update their guidelines before August 1st of this year, and then suggest that urges county boards of education, if they can, to adopt guidance in accordance with this bill and in accordance with that updated statewide guidance before this upcoming school year. But if that proves impossible, they then have until the following school year, the 2024-2025 school year. And additionally, the amendment changes the effective date of the act to June, just to give those state agencies a little bit more time to update their guidance.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the amendments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Delegate Ebersole, seconded by Delegate Mercu North. I will say MABE had requested these amendments, and we have shared this with them. And also say, as a sponsor of the bill, I do view these as friendly amendments. Are there any questions about the amendments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of the amendments, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to be recorded as opposed? Okay, so the amendments pass on the bill as amended.
Move the bill as amended.
Second.
Thank you, Delegates Ebersole and Grossman. Any questions about the bill as amended or comments? Okay, seeing no discussion. All those in favor of the bill as amended, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? The bill passes. Thank you, colleagues. That is it for our work at the moment. Please stay tuned in terms of when our next meeting will be. And I will also just put a plug in that if you would like my office to communicate with any email addresses beyond your standard delegate email address, please shoot my office an email so that we can add those other email addresses to our internal distribution list.
And
Madam Chair, for the good, I'm sorry, for the good of the order, I have an announcement that affects this committee.
Please.
This committee typically takes up library bills, and to that end, it gets a lot of credit for things that happen with libraries. Libraries are there's a resolution on the floor on Wednesday for libraries. I'm being asked to speak to it, but typically we come up to the podium and take a picture. A lot of times people bring up people from their delegation, but in this case, early childhood gets the credit. So I'm going to invite members of this early childhood subcommittee and last year's early childhood subcommittee to come up to the podium for the photograph. So just be ready for it when you hear it, and get up there if you want to be in the picture.
Thank you, Delegate Ebersol. Alistair, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if I also communicate via like amendments and stuff to the subcommittee. So if you have anything, if you have a personal email address, I would request that you also send that to me if that's where you would prefer to get amendments.
Thank
and
you.
Cool jokes, maybe.
All right. Thank you,
I don't
everyone.
know-
That
I
ends our
don't
work.
know